Alright, so now that we're done sculpting our model, we are just going to get started with coloring. You might notice he looks a little bit different since the last time I made a video. I actually kind of spent some time just tweaking the face a little bit and changing the eye shape. Um, I added these little clippers here, and I think that's starting to look pretty cool. So we're going to roll with this look rather than the other one with the really long eyes that I had. But anyway, the first step here is to fill the creature or character or whatever you're making. And you'll notice that if I change the material right now to anything, the entire creature is going to change. And when I first started working in ZBrush, this actually like really confused me because I always thought, if I want just the head to be that, wouldn't you just like drag and drop or something like that? Because that's kind of how it is in like 3D Studio Max or Maya or something. Um, but really, the only thing that what you need to do, which is basically the same thing here, is just going to your color palette and clicking Fill Object. So I'm just gonna open this tray, and the way you do that is by just double clicking this little arrow here. You can basically open and close both trays. I don't know if I ever showed that. So let's just dock the color palette so that we don't have to keep opening it since we have so many subtools. And let's just switch to a material that will work good for coloring. So Skin Shade 4 works really good for coloring. It's just kind of like a blank skin texture. I also have been using this texture when I get to rendering. So there's just a couple things to know. There's two things that you can fill. You can fill your material and you can also fill your color. So for example, if this is just set to color, and let's just fill this with like a base yellow. I have a reference up and I'm gonna kind of color it like this crab here. I actually took this photo on vacation this summer. We're gonna use this kind of look, these colors and stuff um, to Polypaint. But so I'm just gonna put like a light yellow in there or something. Maybe we get a little bit more yellow than that, a little more orangish yellow or something. You can pick the color by the outside and then the saturation and the lightness and darkness of it on the inside. I think that's pretty good now. So if I'm just on RGB and I click Fill Object and then start changing color again, you can see the color stays the same on the head that's been filled, but everything else changes. So that's cool, but if you then change let's go back to this chrome, then you can see, well, the head is changing again. So why is that happening? That's because the material was not filled. So let's just go back to Skin Shade 4, and if I click, instead of RGB, if I click M and then click Fill Object, and now let's try changing to that chrome. So okay, so now you can see both the color and the material have been filled to the object. So that was another thing that kind of confused me before, because in like a different program, when you assign a material, then you change the color inside that material. So in ZBrush, you got to just fill it with both color and material. And if you know that you're going to use the same material and the same base color on like everything, you could just turn off material and come over to mRGB, which is both RGB and M in the same channel. So if we wanted to just come back over to Skin Shade and just start clicking through, shift or alt clicking to select through our subtools, and then just now filling object. If I come back to my materials again and pick that chrome one, now you can see that one isn't changing. So that's all you have to do to get the objects filled. And I think this is a good video to start with for the coloring, because I personally don't want to be like coloring on the head, and every time I'm kind of over here picking, a new color, everything's changing. It just that kind of bugs me. So I like to do just fill the whole thing with the material and the color all at once. So again, we would just come back over to skin shade and let's get a more similar color and just continue to fill the object. You just basically go through the whole character filling the objects. So I'm going to once again just show that when you change the material, the ones that have been filled aren't changing. So that is filling the subtools, and that's the very first step for color. So I'm going to stop this video here. In the next video, we'll start talking about poly painting.